Hi, this is the Next Level Entrepreneur, and this is the very first episode of this exciting podcast. And this is a really exciting podcast because not only am I excited as your host and who I am as a host, I'll get there in a minute, but I think this is a really, really exciting show. And this is going to be an exciting show because I already know some of the guests that we're going to be having. So, yes, this is a podcast where we will be featuring guests. I'll also do some solo episodes, and the name of this podcast is Next Level Entrepreneur. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening. What is the next level entrepreneur? The next level entrepreneur is not me, it can be you. The next level entrepreneur could mean how do you get to the next level? Whatever the next level is for you, and however the next level looks to you, that is the next level entrepreneur. So, the purpose of this podcast is get you to the next level, get you to the next step, and move you forward. And we're going to do that by featuring guests that already are on the next level. We're going to do that by talking about what it actually means to get to the next level, because I'm sure you've heard that people say it's not about the tactic, it's not about the strategy, it's about the psychology, and it's about the mindset, and it's about all the things in your head. And it's not actually about the actual steps and the systems and what you use and how you do it, but it's how you think about things. Well, that's all great, but what does it actually mean? What does it mean that it's not about the strategy, it's about the psychology? What does it mean? How do we get to the next level and not considering that the strategy is important, but the mindset behind it? And this podcast is going to be helping you uncovering that. It's going to be helping you uncovering what does that mean to you? What does that mean with the psychology? How do you get to the next level? And how do you apply all of the things that everyone's always talking about? How do you actually apply that things? And how do you see things? How do you see things in a way that will get you there, that will get you to the next level? Because all of us entrepreneurs, and it sounds always cheesy to say that, oh my God, entrepreneurs, I'm an entrepreneur. Who actually says that? But it doesn't change the fact that we're all working towards a greater goal. It doesn't change the fact that we're all working towards the next step, that we're working towards the next level. And that is why this podcast is the Next Level Entrepreneur. This podcast is a personal podcast because I already have a podcast that is about the technical stuff, that is about e-commerce and sourcing and all of that kind of stuff. But this podcast is more about me. It's about Niels. My name is Niels. My name is Niels Olderb. You don't need to remember that. You just need to remember my name is Niels. And I am in China since 2013. I'm recording this from Shenzhen, China right now. And I've gone through many, many, many levels in my life, in my entrepreneurship, in my journey to the greater good, that every time I get close to it, extends to the next level and the next thing I want to reach and the next level I want to achieve. And I guess that's normal. I guess there's happiness and growth, and I like that. But this podcast is not only about me. Yes, I'm sharing things about me. I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing things that I experienced that I think can help you. So this podcast is not only about me. This podcast is about you. And in this podcast, I'm going to bring guests on that are not necessarily the typical entrepreneur. They're not necessarily the people you see on YouTube driving Lambos. Yet they could buy another Lambo every month if they wanted to, and they could afford it without a problem. We're going to be bringing on people that are not flashing their watches on Instagram, yet they have watch collections at home that all Instagram influencers could dream of. We're going to bring on people that own manufacturing plants in China and in India, and that are a little different. People that have left their countries and came somewhere else and built a new empire of their own. And all these little empires, all these little kings and these little and all the people that build these empires, they have gone through multiple levels. They have achieved levels that they couldn't even have dreamed about, they couldn't even have thought about. But it's not only to get you to the 8 figures and 9 figures exits and that kind of stuff on this podcast. It's not only about the the ultra high achievers. It's what people have gone through to become who they are, how they have applied the mental aspect in the business with the right strategies to become successful. So obviously you need to see for yourself, what does success mean to you, right? What do you want to achieve? What level are you on right now, and what is the next level you want to be on? And in this podcast, I hope I can help you not only when you already started, when you already are successful and you want to take it to the next level, but I hope I can help you when you're just starting out as well, when you are having most of your worries in the very beginning, or when you think you have all of these big worries in the very beginning and that they are your biggest worries. Later on, you will find out that those worries will never stop and they will continue, and you just get used to that. But I don't want to take too much away from this podcast yet. We have a lot of things that we're going to be covering in the mental space, because on my YouTube channel, the Easy Peasy Ecom channel, I've been talking a lot about e-commerce strategies and how we build seven-figure businesses using Amazon, and how we build seven-figure businesses using Shopify, and how we are, leveraging all of these tactics and strategies. But at times I've gotten, I wouldn't say bored of it, but I haven't gotten to a stage where I like to share things about your mental state, about the psychology behind it and how you can advance to the next level. But I think that I want to have this for you in a separate place. I want this for you to be something that you can take with you to the gym. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, make sure that you subscribe to this in the podcast, because you can take me with you and have me in your ear, and I'd be honored to be that kind of guy that you take around with you. And vice versa, if you're listening to this right now in audio and you want to see this, and you want to spend some time on YouTube watching these, especially when we have the guests on, make sure to head over to YouTube and look for the Next Level Entrepreneur podcast. I'm super excited about the guests because we can learn so much from them. And I have some people here that are invited, and also some people that are already interviewed for the show that I always looked up to and I always wanted to have here. So for me, also, this is a little personal excuse to have people here. What I want to share with you in this episode is a little bit of what this podcast is about and what to expect. And I've taken away the one or the other thing on that already. But I also want to speak selfishly about myself, because this is, after all, the introduction episode to this new podcast. So I want to give you my backstory for all the people that know me through the YouTube channel or through my Easy Peasy Sourcing podcast. I want to give a look behind the curtain. I want to be able to build a little bit more of a relationship to you, rather than just sharing tactics and tricks and secrets and strategies. I want to be connecting to you on a more personal level. So I appreciate that you're here, and I appreciate that you take the time. And we're going to be spending some more time together here today. So I'm very happy that you're with me on the journey, and I appreciate that. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I've gone through, and there's no tragic story here. So I'm a very average person, but I still want to share some things of where I come from, what I've been through, and how I got to a level that many would consider successful. That's obviously always depends on who looks at it. But I would like to share my journey. So I've been born and I've grown up in Germany. I've been the son of two German parents. I've grown up in I was born in Hamburg, and I grew up very middle class, upper middle class, I would say, with very standard, living, with maybe even a little bit better than a lot of other people. I've grown up with parents that understood me. I grew up with a functioning household. I grew up with a little sister, and I've grew up with very standard, in a standard environment, with very standard principles and very standard things that were taught to me, with very standard values that wouldn't necessarily have allowed me to become an entrepreneur or having my own business. And I didn't even think about having my own business until I was probably 20 years old. And actually, that's not true. I was thinking about that when I was 16 or 15. I was thinking about that, but that was just kind of like a kind of little rebel thing, because as I was a teenager. Come on, what do you want? I've always been hard working though. So we moved from Hamburg to a little town in nearby, the maybe 2 hours drive from the border of the Netherlands. And we've been, like I say, growing up in countryside around a lot of horses and cows and sheep and animals and fields and being out in every weather and sport activities and playing football, and like that was me growing up. And there was just one point where it just wasn't enough. Like I always wanted more. I always wanted to hang out with the older guys. I went to the clubs when I was 14. I wanted to go out and drink with the 16-year-olds every weekend. I wanted to party. I wanted to meet girls. I always wanted more. And soon after, starting this kind of rebellious teenage years, I really didn't. There was always this drive of wanting something else. I didn't know I wanted business. I just knew I wanted some more. So I always hustled. I always worked. I was never afraid to put the hours in. After school, I went to a factory. I kind of attached stickers to clothing. Then after that, I went to a restaurant and I was waiting tables. Eventually, I chose to become a carpenter. And when I chose to become a carpenter, that was after school. So I went to school. It was kind of like a business, whatever school, but it wasn't very serious. Like it was like a vehicular college and whatever. It doesn't matter. In that, I hated it so much. I said, I will never sit in a fucking office. I never want to do that. I want to go out. I want to do something with my hands. I can't stand to just sit here all day and listen to people's accounting talk and mathematics and all this crap. I can't. I don't. I was in so much pain. I really didn't want it. So I became a carpenter because I was always passionate about building furnitures, and I really liked that and the craftsmanship in that. And actually building something with your hands and creating something was always something I loved, right? So I did that and I became a carpenter. And while I was a carpenter, I still was waiting tables. And on the weekends, I was working in the clubs. I never took a day off. I always wanted more. I wanted the better car. When I was 16, I wanted the better scooter. When I was 18, I wanted the better car. I wanted to go out and buy bottles in the club and do all the stupid things you do, right? And eventually, I've grown out of that and I became a carpenter and I liked that. But there was just no money in it. And I didn't like that aspect of it. So I decided, okay, let me do something very traditional that, a lot of people suggest me to do, and that is going to university. If you want to make it in life, you have to go to university and you have to study and you have to have a degree. And then after 5 years, you make some more money. So we've all heard the crap, right? And I wanted to do that, but I couldn't. I wasn't qualified. I didn't have the school. Anyway, I couldn't do it. So I had to do an internship, and I chose to do this internship in China, because I got very fortunate with it. Because my dad, he, besides having this very traditional outlook on life and on things. Besides that, when he lost his management job, he started his own business, his own little software company. And as a kid, I missed all his struggles, right? So I don't know, and I wouldn't say. I don't know. Maybe I have this a little bit in the DNA, but maybe it's, I don't know. Anyway, so I became that. I had to go to an internship, and my dad was already working with someone in China with another German guy. So I contacted him, and I was like, "Hey, look, I work for free. I don't care. I want to be in China. Would you take me on, and would you like can I do the internship in China?" And that was in 2013 when I first landed in China. When I first I was 19 years old. I went to China. I was just 20, and it was a crazy experience. Just going there, just landing. I missed the ferry. I didn't know where I was. They drove me to some hotel. No one spoke English, and it was just completely different than what I expected. Actually, I didn't really know what I expected. I just wanted to get it done so I can go to university so I can make more money, right? That was my whole objective. But it turned out to be this whole life-changing event, because initially I wanted to stay 6 months, and that's been 7 years ago. I met the girl that I love. I met the girl that I want to be with for the rest of my life. I met the right people. I met a lot of wrong people. I met the right people, and the guy that I was working for, he kind of pushed me into the corners, right? So he's like, "Look, how about you stay longer, you work for me, and I start actually paying you. So I said, okay, why not? Maybe you stay half more a year, a little longer. You do some, some more work, some more money. Why not? I really like money, right? So what can I do? And he kind of got me with that. But then also what he got me with is believing that I could do more. So he pushed me in these moments where it was so uncomfortable, where he's like, hey, how about you fly to Mexico and open a company for me? And I'm a freaking carpenter. I don't know how to do that, right? So he's like, how about you go? And of course I said yes. And yes, I didn't know how to do it. And he just said, okay, you're going to meet this and this and this person. And then you kind of have to figure it out and do it. So how about you go to Mexico for half year? So okay, I'll go when, and he said tomorrow. I had a flight, and I went, right, and that was kind of this push in this corner, and I like that. The same thing happened with Vietnam. He proposed the same thing for Vietnam, so I ended up staying almost a year in Vietnam. Krogi, my girlfriend, she came with me, and we stayed together, and I was working there, and I felt like I was the shit. I felt like I was so cool because I was this 21-year-old guy who was in Vietnam, who was a manager. Like I had achieved already what I was planning for going through university. Like the whole goal of going through university is getting more money and being in a better position, right? And now I was in a better position, and all of a sudden I was earning money, and the money that I was earning for Vietnam, I was living like a king. I had a bathtub and an open kitchen, and like all of this stuff where all of my friends were in school, and sharing rooms with three roommates and stuff like that. So I felt really good about myself, and that's because I didn't know there was another level, and I discovered those levels. So eventually, I meet this guy in Vietnam, and he's retired. So he's in his 30s, and he's retired. And I asked him, so, but like, how can you be retired? So you inherited money? No, I didn't inherit money. So you won some money? No. So how could you be retired when you're 30? Like your parents are rich. No, I'm like, I had a business. I was in China. I had a business, and I made money in the business, and I put all that bit money in real estate, and now I'm retired. I'm like, how? That's not even possible. Like he's 30. People that start businesses, they have to be 40 or 50, right? You can't just in your 20s do that. And like unless you're like some special gifted person, like I don't know, you're the founder of Facebook, or you create something crazy like that from your garage, and like, but that's for other people. Like that's not for me. I'm already a manager. I'm already doing pretty well, right? And he reminded me, he's like, look, when I was your age, I was already doing 10 grand a month. And I was like, shit, I'm only doing two. Like, fuck, he's doing 10 grand a month at my age. I felt like that was the first time that I got put back to bottom, right? Because I was flying high because all the people around me that I knew were less successful at that stage in my life than I was. But he wasn't. He was more successful, and he was like, "Well, look, when I was your age, I was already doing a lot better. So, like, I don't know what you're feeling so good about." And that kind of woke me up. And he gave me this book from MJ DeMarco called Fastlane Millionaire, which really, really opened my eyes. I thought I could not. How can you do a business? How could you, like, how is that even possible? You need a lot of money to start a business, right? No, you don't. You need to have a lot of experience. No, you don't. And in that time, he was starting to sell things on Amazon. He was bored. He was looking into something else. He was founding a little company in Vietnam, but he was mostly playing around. And then he's like, "Look, dude, why don't you start on Amazon as well? Like, let's figure this out together." I know the first podcast. There was a podcast from Scott Volker, the amazing seller, and he had 20 episodes back then. Like he was just starting out. It was just when Amazon was just new and people were just going in, and that was the right time to do it. I didn't know what I was doing, obviously, and obviously I lost all the money going into that. But that was a start, and that brought me back to China, and that brought me through, you know, back to the city that I didn't want to be actually anymore. I said, I don't want to be in China. I want to go back. I want to do, I don't know, but I don't want to be in China. And so let me stay one more year, and let's do one more year, and let me do one more year until now I actually like it. I love it. I'm really happy in China, and it is so different than most people perceive. And we have all the freedom and all the happiness that we can have being here. And now it's become my home. So I'm home now in China. Um, I'm still happy with my girlfriend. We're still dating. We are expanding our business. I have great partners in my business now, and it hasn't always been that way because there was a huge gap from starting out on Amazon to where I am now, where we have a big office, where we have employees, where we have a team for Amazon, where we have a team for sourcing, where we have all of these things that where we own a service company, where we do digital products, where we do mentorship, where we help people make money, where like we do so many different things. We have our own physical brands. We do so many different things in so many spaces, and it's just not been like that. And a lot of times when people see it, they don't see the struggle, and you don't see the levels that everyone has to go through. All the things that you see on YouTube, or the things that you hear about, or the things that you read about, are the people who've already gone through all of those levels. And this is just not how it works, because the people that are still struggling, well, you don't hear about them, right? So in this podcast, I will bring you those people as well. I will bring you people that are on their journey, that have greatness in them, that will achieve great results, and will make tremendous amounts of money in their 20s and 30s. And I will definitely bring you those people, so that you can actually learn from that. So you can get people that are just one step ahead or two steps ahead. And then you will see that it's actually not that hard, and that it's actually achievable. Maybe you realize that anything that you saw before, anything in life, any area that you thought that was unachievable, that was crazy, that was like unimaginable to reach that step. And then you reached it, and all of it became like it was never different, right? And it's the same thing with business. It's the same way that if you are just starting out and you still have your job and you cannot imagine how it feels to sell a product, why would anyone give you money for your product? Like, isn't that nuts? Well, later later it is like brushing your teeth in the morning. There's nothing more sure that will happen than someone giving you money. Actually, during this episode, we had countless people. My phone was buzzing all the time. Countless people were submitting orders through Shopify, right? And it becomes second nature. Now, obviously, there are a couple of steps from, well, what if my product doesn't sell, to selling countless units every day on autopilot, right? There's a big difference in between, and there are many steps. But what I want to bring you here are people that are on that journey, and that are maybe just one step ahead or two steps ahead. But I also want to show you what's possible, and I want to show you the people that are many steps ahead. I also want to bring you the people that are not necessarily the drop shippers or the Amazon FBA people, but I want to bring you people and show you that you can have success on many levels, that multiple things work. People always say, oh, drop shipping doesn't work, or affiliate marketing is a scam, or MLM. Sorry, let me have another wine for that one. There we go. Or MLM companies are a scam, or like there's so many things out there that people believe, and this is just so crazy. So I want to get you the people that also made it in other areas, because even ourselves, we made it in the service industry. We have a sourcing service where we get people in the door every day that book our sourcing services, where we help buy products in China. And that's a service business, right? That is very different to our physical product businesses. Everything works differently. Yes, it is a business. You're kind of serving people in both ways, but everything is different. Cash flow is different. The lessons learned were different. Yet everything has similarities. The same goes with our digital product business. Everything has the same similarities. Really difficult in the beginning to pull it off. And then you expect it to explode and just be nuts and be crazy. And then it turns out it isn't. And it's difficult. And then you want to give up, but you don't. And then you overcome things. And I'm so crazy excited to share all of these things with you, because I wish something like that would have happened to me early when I started, that I had an actual mentor who guided me through the process. And now I have a mentor. Now I have my partner. You will see him sitting in the chair in front of me very soon, and we will be discussing many things many times, because he has completely changed and shifted fundamentally who I am, how I think, and how I see the world. And that obviously also hasn't happened over time, but basically what happened is that I got really bankrupt because I started on Amazon, and of course I blew all my money and I didn't make any of it back. Actually, I spent so much money in my product, and I overspent so much that I didn't have enough money to ship the whole lot. So I only shipped half of it, and I never made enough money to ship the second lot of products. So they're still somewhere in China in some warehouse, and I don't even know. Or maybe someone sold them. I don't even know what happened with it, but that was my start on Amazon, right? So I lost all the money and everything was gone, and I just couldn't go back to a job anymore. Like that was done for me. I could not do it. So if you pick up the book and you read MJ DeMarco, MJ DeMarco's Fast Lane Millionaire, cautions because you might never be able to work for someone else again, right? That's at least what happened to me. Anyway, so I got bankrupt and I lost my money. I started sourcing for people by side, and I, took on a few clients, and that worked. And I worked with freelancing sourcing agents. It was a lot of work, and I wasn't the best at it. I didn't charge a lot of money, but I got started. I got some people in the door, and I got featured on a podcast and on a second podcast. And the second podcast actually blew up, and that was awesome because it blew up all my business, brought me so many people in. And that month, I remember I had $20,000 in my PayPal account. I never had that much money in my life. I had $20,000 deposited in my PayPal account. That was nuts. That was crazy. I was so happy because it took so long to get there. And it took so much sweat and so many tears and so many people that screwed me and so many factories that gave me headaches all the time. And it was just a crazy, crazy journey, not only to get there kind of as a business, but also mentally be able to get there, be able to charge a person, be able to sell something, be able to market myself, like all of that, creating a website, building a shop, like all of that was just such a huge mental journey. And then I have $20,000 in my account, and I'm like, shit, I'm gonna make it now. I'm gonna have 20 grand in my account every month now. Boom. Now we do it. Now we're rolling. Mm. That at least I saw, right? And then of course, how it a lot of times is when you have those wins is that someone kind of kicks you in the face, right? And in this case, it was PayPal. So PayPal kicked me in the face and say, "Hey, because you made too much money in too short time, or more money than you usually do in too short time, this is a little bit suspicious. So we froze your account." Now that was bad, right? So if PayPal freezes your account, you cannot access the money. And they say, okay, we hold it for 6 months. Now, the problem is I had so many customers now, I didn't even know how to handle them alone. So I had hired someone who helped me with that in China. And I also had to pay costs on that. I had to pay people samples and I had to do that. And I just couldn't make it. Like I didn't have the money and I didn't have any savings. And of course, at this point, I was also too afraid. And then we come back to mindset to ask someone for money, to ask someone for cash flow because I wasn't confident enough that I will ever recoup that money or that I can pull it off again. Like somehow in the back of my head, I thought I just got lucky with that one. So I didn't even consider asking anyone to help with some cash flow. Now it would not be a problem. If I would have that money in the PayPal account, I would borrow some money to keep the business going and eventually pay it back once the money gets unfrozen, or like that. Now it's not a problem, but back then it was just somehow I couldn't make it. And then of course, I screwed around with the customers and I was like, okay, we already got your quotes, and yes, we ordered your samples, and now we just have to wait for this. Oh, by the way, because we have a holiday, we need to wait longer. Oh, by the way, because the factory isn't good, so we have to look for another one. Oh, by the way, so I dragged this out because I somehow hoped I would recoup some payments from new customers, and I would charge them with a credit card, and I could use that money for the old customers. And obviously that was a horrible mistake, and everything went south, and I got bankrupt. And I ended up with basically $20,000 in debt, plus whatever I lost before from Amazon. And I had this guy I was working for. His name is Johnny, and I was working for Johnny already by side because I was bankrupt. I didn't know what to do, and a friend introduced me, so I helped him selling Amazon products. He's a Chinese guy, and I met him. And then I really didn't know what to do, so I went to him and I kind of asked for a loan. I asked for 100,000 RMB, which is about $15,000. So I went to him and I really couldn't ask. Like he knew exactly that I would ask that, and he was kind of pushing me in the direction of kind of like, you need to like that I needed to get over myself to ask the questions I need to ask, etc. But he didn't offer it himself. Like he didn't go like, "Hey Niels, do you want some money?" Like somehow that didn't happen. Weird, right? Anyway, I ended up borrowing that money from him. I meet him, and the next time in a coffee shop, and he brings this huge pile of cash. Like he has this bundle of just like it's 100,000 RMB, and RMB has the 100 note at the biggest. So it's 1,000 bills that he put together, and he like puts it on the table. And it's like, okay, here's the money. I was like, wow, that's crazy, because we didn't sign a contract. We didn't like, or maybe we did. Maybe we did sign a contract about that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Like he puts this on the table. I could just have left the country, whatever. So, but that wasn't enough money. So I think the 15,000 was gone in a week, and I kind of fitted some holes and stuffed some bills, stuffed some holes and paid some bills that I needed to pay. But it was long not enough, and the money I was making with a little side job was also not enough to support it. So there was a horrible time going over not being able to pay the rent. Of course, my girlfriend was worried, and of course she was right to be worried, because we were not doing well, and we just actually rented a bigger apartment, a more expensive apartment, because well, we just made 20 grand. It's gonna be great from now. Life's gonna be good, right? So we made all the stupid mistakes you can make, which I'm really happy about, because I'm not gonna make those again in the future. But we made or I made all of those mistakes, and then I kind of couldn't hold it. So I went back to Germany for 3 months, and I couldn't pay my bills, and I just went back and kind of saw if I could figure things out. And I also ignored Johnny like completely in that time. I didn't reply messages anymore. I didn't do anything until I needed a visa, because I needed to go back to China. And eventually I was at the level where I found one or two customers in Germany that didn't hear that podcast episode that I could still, kind of convince. And it got me a little bit of confidence to move forward and start sourcing again. So we moved back to China, but I needed a visa. So I contacted Johnny, and I was like, hey, Johnny, look, I really need that visa. And he got it for me. And then obviously I needed to meet him. Right. So I came back to China and I met him, and I felt horrible for not coming back. But you know how it is. Like you don't do it today, and you want to do it tomorrow, and then you have another message that you ignore, and then another message, and then another message, and the longer you wait, the harder it gets. So you wait even longer, and then it gets even harder. You know how this rolls, right? And this is also what we're going to be talking about, getting to the next level and kind of accomplishing the next steps, and how this also mentally changed for me and how it can change for you. And then I come up and I build sales funnels for him. So I found Russell Brunson. I read his books. I get crazy about that. And I was like, look, you sell these sex toys. Let us do a funnel for that. And then I built sex toys funnels for him. And this is kind of how I started to earn a little bit money again, because I met him and immediately he offered me a job. He's like the most patient guy I know. So I ignored him for 3 months, and he still offered me a job. He's like, hey, if you want to work for me, I pay you $2,000 a month. Just work. And that really got me out of Thumbs, because I started borrowing money left and right from everyone I know. I borrowed a little bit of money here and there, and then I borrowed from one friend, and then I couldn't pay him back, so I borrowed more money from another friend to pay him back and have my bill, and that was just a horrible spiral of events. So eventually, the sales funnels kind of work. We're kind of happy with it, but he closes the door for his business, for that specific kind of business, and I was like, shit, what am I gonna do now, right? And then I come up and I pitch him the idea, and I was like, hey, let us sell courses, because I read Russell Brunson's book and I was still into ClickFunnels and all that. So I was like, hey, let's build courses. That's a new thing. That's a thing that's what's gonna make us crazy rich. So I start pitching that to him, and he invests money. Me owning him still that 100,000 RMB, he agrees to invest money. And I was like, what? And I knew life would change. And that was 2.5, 3 years ago now. And life has dramatically changed. Everyone talks bad about partnership. Or one partner wants this, the other partner wants that. One partner wants to invest, the other partner wants to save. One partner wants to expand, the other partner wants to take it slow. This partnership has been the most life-changing experience in the world. And that's also one of the reasons that I want to have this podcast, because the impact that he has made on my life, he probably has taken out 10 years of my journey. I was just skipping levels and skipping levels and skipping counts. In Pokemon, if you eat the rare candies, man, I've been popping candies like crazy these 2 years, because I would have never been able to advance that much without a mentor. So I hope that this podcast can be like a mentor to you. Because in the last 2 years, we've done incredibly we've been struggling a lot. But we've also had good things come out of that, and we've also had good times. And having someone who believes in you like that, and having someone who's by your side and supporting you with the right mindset that you need, is the key for everything. But it's so difficult to understand, what does it actually mean, having the right mindset. Oh, you don't think big enough. Yeah, it's so easy to say these things, but what does it actually mean? So in this podcast, we're going to be uncovering it. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to have incredible guests here for you. I'm super happy that you're here. If you like this so far, if you're still here, either you kind of left your player on, and or you couldn't turn it off or whatever, or you actually genuinely liked what we talked about, or got a little, like the glimpse that I gave you today about this episode. So if you do, make sure that you leave me a comment, leave me a review on this podcast, because that actually incredibly helps to rank this baby up, and then that helps for more people to reach it, so we can help more people. We have incredible guests lined up, like I say. And most of them, or almost all of them, are, that's kind of the same thing. Most of them and almost all of them, right? So we have a lot of business owners here that will share, that I will get the knowledge of. We have some crazy people here. We're gonna make this a little bit entertaining, so we're gonna have some drinks. That's why I'm starting this off with a wine by myself today. But it's Friday night. Don't judge me. And even if we won their morning, whatever. So we're gonna have people here that we're gonna do it a little bit fun. We're not just gonna be doing the typical entrepreneur coming in, tells his story, makes a pitch in the end of it. No, like, this is something where we actually get value out of people, where we actually drill a little bit deeper. But we're gonna loosen everyone's tongue with a little bit of alcohol if they do drink. Everyone who comes can feel free to smoke their cigars, and we're gonna do it a little bit fun. It's not gonna be a dry entrepreneur show. We're gonna do it a little bit, um, let's do it a little bit entertaining. I know as a German, it's always hard to do that because we're very boring people and we don't have humor. But I will have guests who bring that in, and I'm super excited to share all of their stories to get you to the next level, to move you ahead. And I'm super excited that you follow me on this journey. So I thank you very much for being here. Make sure, if you want to learn more about the strategies and the sourcing and the products and all of the things we do there, to check out the Easy Peasy Sourcing YouTube channel. And podcast. And also make sure that you subscribe to this. So if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely make sure to subscribe here, hit the little bell. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever there's a podcast, well, just leave me a little review, because that really helps. Make sure that you subscribe to this as well, because we're going to bring you bi-weekly episodes. We're going to be doing maybe even weekly episodes, so we'll figure that out. We start with bi-weekly, and I already have incredible guests who went from $0 to $100,000 in 20 days, and all kinds of crazy stories like that. And also, that overnight success didn't happen overnight, so I'm going to tease that much. I'm going to show you that in the very first, not very first, in the very second, in the very next episode of this show. I'm going to show you that. So thank you for staying here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending the time with me. I wish you an incredible, great day. Have a good one. Cheers.